Well, here we are already into the month of November. It is super hard to believe how fast this fall is going. And I just want to say thank you for continuing to intentionally engage and to be a part of community. I just really believe that intimacy, especially with other people, is needed and is necessary to help spur us on in our relationship and walk with God. And this weekend, we continued our series on the Sermon on the Mount. And we looked at really kind of a key passage in the midst of the Sermon on the Mount. And we looked at Matthew chapter 6 and the first four verses. But we really spent a lot of time focusing on verse number 1 and really the crux of that verse. And over the next few weeks, we're talking about what is our motivation when it comes to following after God. The people that were seated on the hillside had 613 Levitical laws that they were called to follow. And so they understood that in order to have a right relationship with God, that it really hinged on action. But what Jesus was getting at in the Sermon on the Mount is that it's not just simply about how we choose to act, but it really is about what is going on at a heart level. How are we motivated? And so we talked about right motivation and wrong motivation. And sometimes some of the wrong motives that we have when it comes to our relationship with God includes that we are trying to earn his love. That we think that we somehow, if we can just work a little bit harder, that maybe that will make us worthy of him. Sometimes a wrong motive is that we use it as a bargaining chip. If you do this for me, God, then I will do this for you. Sometimes a wrong motive that we can have is we're just trying to please people, or we're trying to get noticed, or we're trying to be admired by those who are around us. And what Jesus was reminding us of is that those, along with other motives, are wrong that we might have, but that the right motive that you and I are called to live by is out of a love for him, where it's not to be seen by other people, where it's not to stand out in the midst of a crowd, but where we do it because it's what Jesus has called us to do. And so the question really becomes, do we choose to fall a little bit more in love with Jesus every single day? And so to help keep our motives pure, there were two questions that I challenged us to really think through. And the first one was this: if no one saw what you were doing, would you still do it? Like, if no one had any idea what you were doing, would you choose to still engage in the way that you choose to engage? And the second question that we chose to ask is, do we judge our success or failure based upon your faithfulness to God's call and what he has asked you to do, or how you compare it with other people? I think those are two really important questions to help keep our motives and to help keep our hearts pure. And so after Jesus gets done explaining about right motives, he jumps into the very first tangible example, and that is the way that you and I interact and give to the needy. And so as we wrapped up our morning, we challenged each other to really think through our motives, to really think through the way that we choose to intentionally love, and to be not caught off guard that when Jesus says, hey, it's not about if you give to the needy, but when you give to the needy, do we really apply that in our lives? And so my hope is that tonight you have some fantastic discussion around Matthew chapter 6 and around motivation. And my prayer for every single one of us as a church is that we are motivated by love for God, where we are changed by him, that we experience those inspired new beginnings, that mission of our church. I'm praying for you, and I can't wait to hear how your discussion goes. May God do immeasurably more in and through your discussion tonight.